We've reached the midway mark of the summer. Find out who's doing well and who's getting burned on this week's episode of the Indie Report podcast. We're back. The cast is off, and this is episode number 330. How you doing, Rye Guy?
I'm doing well. Hate that you call me Rye Guy, but, we can't. It's not a bell that can be unrung, so here we are.
Well, it is a belt that you can swing.
So stupid. Flying start here for the pod. Oh, man. How are you? How's it been since when was our last time we talked? 3 days ago? 2 days ago? 3 days ago?
I think it was, technically speaking, Wednesday morning, and now it is Friday morning. Yeah, Friday afternoon. At the same point. So, yeah. We're actually going to get to talk some ball here. We're not going to talk about a league, slowly rotting away. And there's some news you guys got to get to, but we'll get to that towards the end of the show. Oop, just threw my pen. And yeah.
Yeah. It is nice. I'm going to avoid anything that I feel like will turn to a rant. That's kind of my game plan right now. So we'll see how that works out for me. Yeah.
I don't think it's going to end well, but hey.
Nope, probably not. Why would it ever? What about me has ever indicated that it would end well? But here we are.
I don't know, but you know what? I will tell you this much. It's going to end better than some of the teams in the Frontier League this week because, my God, when over the last 10 days, you can make an argument that, oh, no, wait, every team, I just realized this, every single league has a team or division, my mistake. Every single division in the Frontier League has a team that did 2-8 or worse over their last 10.
Yeah, definitely a non-parody league currently. But it is interesting because it's like we're getting into a good point with the Frontier League where you can really do the I forget the name of it because I'm dumb as hell, but it's the thing of like so-and-so beat so-and-so, so that must mean this, like, because Brockton, if I remember right, did have a fairly recent stretch where, like, I think they were good. Yeah, they were good, and then we were like, what does that mean? They took 2 out of 3 from Quebec. We're like, oh, okay. And then since then, they've just been absolutely smacked. And you're like, well, what does that say about Quebec? Question marks. And then you're like, well, what does that say about Windy City and Florence? Because we're not impressed by either of those teams. They have swept a team that just won a series with Quebec. So what are we doing out here? I do enjoy the chaos a bit, but it is a lot. And 2-8 in their last 10, lost 6 in a row, and they're still 3 games ahead of Trois-Rivières. So that's going well.
Well, they also have lost 4 in a row too, so it's kind of keeping.
Yeah, man, they're racing to the bottom. They really know there's no I guess there is a Frontier League draft, so. Nothing. It's not tanking for Tua. It's tanking for a guy who shows up to try out, for paid tryout. Everyone's just hoping they get a Josh Sala.
Lowest the keys. This will never work and would be killed off immediately. But I do kind of wish at times leagues and their draft would just be, we throw every player that was in the league last year and has signed a contract to come back, because a lot of them signed the contract with the league. They just so happen to be on the team. And that's the Frontier League draft. It's basically a fantasy draft with keepers.
Yeah, I was going to say more like a keepers thing where you can like mark 5 to 10 guys.
Yeah.
And it would also be funny because I already know, and we can already almost like name the teams off the top of our head, who would, take their top 2 guys and then make like 8 vibes keepers off the team. Just clubhouse guy. Like Florence is just vibing and like letting dudes walk who are questionable, like where it's questionable to let them walk because they're just like, yeah, but like we got a bunch of clubhouse guys, it'll be fine. It would be interesting, but of course you'd immediately fall apart because everyone else is going to be like, well, I'd rather not go to a league where I'm thrown to a draft every year. Though I think also you get a lot of teams retaining the same guys even through the draft. And I guess on the other side, hypothetically, there's the weird dynamic as well of you don't need, like right now, guys are already getting stuck in contracts they don't necessarily like. So it doesn't really affect that much. Actually, good play.
You need to toy with it a bit. I think you need to up the protection slots to like say 10 for the roster total.
Yeah, I agree.
Or have it be like you have 5 at large, but you are required to protect like a certain classification and up with the other
I
5?
think the way to do it is, how about this one?
Yeah.
Something along the lines, and boy, were we really off topic already, of if you draft a guy, you then have his rights until like a certain date right before spring training. And then if he doesn't sign, his rights revert back to the former team. And then if he hasn't signed by like opening day, it's open free agency within the league. So that way you do have mobility. I don't like guys being stuck until the season starts where they can't really go where they want, but at least it does give you the option of going back where you came from or to a new place. So you do have like at least an actual choice.
That is true. Plus, I mean, let's be real, they'll just be handshake agreements. So you just text your old manager like, I ain't signing there. I'll sign with you guys though.
Right. And there's going to be a lot of back and forth of like, we have one of yours who doesn't want to sign with us. You have one of ours who doesn't want to sign with you. We'll just take them back.
Do a swap.
Yeah, I don't know. There could be something interesting there, but these leagues have so many other things to deal with first before worrying about a parity focused keepers league draft every year. I don't really know.
Nonsense. Shep, make it happen. I know you're listening. Make this happen, Shep. You're not doing anything else important.
I'll do the headache inducing planning if you like, because you've a lot on your plate, and I'll just hop in and be like, I'll do the dumb thing. Don't worry about it. And then, which also I think means I get to take the heat when it goes inevitably terribly.
No, don't worry about that. Arancini boy can go ahead and handle this.
Oh man, I don't know. Weird thing. I'll play with that in an out of the park baseball league at some point, I'm sure.
It would certainly help out teams like, let's say, the Evansville Otters that are currently 1-9 on a 9-game skid.
There it is. Yeah, man. You hate to see it. I mean, there is going to be a conversation at some point about how badly this is going. Like, but then, I mean,
and then you look and they're only like 8 games out of first place in the division, and like realistically, they're still in contention for a playoff spot.
Well, Nick, using the transitive property, which was the name I was looking for earlier, I have to tell you, before this losing streak, they swept Florence, who recently swept Brockton, who recently won a series with Quebec. So Evansville right now is better than Quebec. This league is chaos. I caught it when I did my top 10 ranking for the week. Actually, I think, no, I didn't mention it on this pod. I mentioned it on the interview, or after the interview I did with the broadcast team over with the Sioux City Explorer. Shout out. That was really fun. But
whom you didn't rank.
My top 10 last week had the top 5 were all Atlantic League teams. And that, whenever that happens for me, I like step back a little bit, because my background being covering Atlantic League first, I am very aware I can have a bias toward those teams, because I know those. I watch more Atlantic League games, 1, because it lines up with time zone, 2, it's local to me, and 3, I know those guys a little better. So sometimes I'm watching just to see how like a friend does. And so I step back, I was like, whoa, like, why is this how I have them ranked? And I realized it's because the American Association and the Frontier League are both doing this thing of everybody's losing to everybody seemingly at all times. And the Atlantic League has kind of been like, there's 4 good teams and they're basically kicking the pee out of everybody else. And that's kind of it, with like a couple floaters in the middle, like Southern Maryland and Lexington. Like, it's pretty defined the way it's going. And so that's where I was like, oh, okay, that's how I arrived at this. But it's funny that now, like, as I'm looking at it, it's like Evansville's the best example. Just lost 9 in a row, but before that had a sweep of a team that just swept a team that beat Quebec. And you're like, yeah, why not?
I didn't realize that you'd put 5 Atlantic League teams at first until you just said that. I had to look. I was like, oh, I actually did.
Yeah, and I literally tried not to, but I revisited it and I'm like, I stand with this. I don't know, like, it's just sort of a weird, it's just a weird couple of weeks where like there's stuff going on, like Kansas City losing some games. They have not been very good for the past month. They're like a game above 500, I think, in the last 25. Lake Country is kind of, they're good, but like we've already said, they're not exceptional. Quebec keeps losing games. Fargo is winning games, and then all of a sudden giving up 15 to Lincoln last week. Like I can't bump Fargo up the ranking when they just got smacked by the Salt Dogs, who've been struggling. So yeah, I get left in a situation, and then like that's how Charleston squeaks in, because Charleston's hanging around 500, and in the Atlantic League, the only teams we're losing to are the teams I have in the top 5. So I'm like, well, I guess I mean, I guess that's something. I have no idea. And then you start with the conversation of, do I think Charleston would beat like a couple of these other teams? Like, yeah. So I don't know. It was a really weird ranking week. I don't foresee this happening again for a while because that was just a very strange series of events.
I'm going to keep moving past the ranking bit, otherwise I'll get bogged down in that. Although if you want to hear about how I did my rankings, I have a video on that now.
Oh boy.
Yeah, that just went up. So back to the parity-filled chaos that is the Frontier League. It's just so odd that like every single division has one team that did fairly well, and then one that just did like abysmally bad. Like Joliet just completely caved in on itself. Meanwhile, Mississippi's above 500. We have Sussex County that went 2-8 in their last 10, still 11 games above 500, and still comfortably in first.
At some point, though, I do have to. I took so much heat for not launching Sussex County straight to my top 5. And I kept being like, I don't know, man. Like, I think they're a little sketchy. And I kind of read the room on they did get some wins off Quebec, but only not like dominatingly, and only when Quebec started to like do their weird stumble they do, at one point every year. They've now won 5 in a row though. And I was like, I just don't know that Sussex is that team. I think they're benefiting from playing bad teams really frequently. And I will say watching them drop like 8 in a row did kind of give me a little like, hey, all right, I might not be an idiot. Because I started doubting myself. I'm like, this team is not that good. And they rip another like stretch of 10 wins in 2 weeks. I'm like, or I'm dumb. I don't know.
First off, it was only 7 in a row. Secondly, 2 of them were 1-run losses. And the last loss to Ottawa was fluky, and they blamed some BS call towards the end where they didn't get it when they should have got it. I don't really know.
I mean, they did just get shut out back-to-back by Down East at home.
Yeah, so that's why I kind of... And they did get kind of ass blasted by 10 the day before. So I'm like...
Yeah, that's a whole thing. I mean, yeah, giving up 27 runs to Ottawa in 2 nights and then backing that up with getting shut out twice by Down East is a tough look. That's all. That's why I do have a higher standard for teams coming out of that division. Like when your division is the Boulders, who actually have it together now, and we haven't really talked about that. Down East, who's sketchy at best, and the Jackals, who are sketchy. I'm like, yeah, you're gonna need to put together some runs if you want me to rank you.
Hey, when they win their next 4 this weekend against the Jackals, who's gonna be laughing then?
Not me.
Because when they go out and they win 3 against Washington, then what are you going to say?
I mean, that actually would show me something. Yeah, that's fair. I still think pretty highly of Washington right now, despite they're having a weird year. But I mean, weird year, and they're still up by 2.5 games in division. So what are we even talking about?
All right, New York thoughts? Because New York's kind of coming around now. They're back on the right side of 500.
Pioneer League site is down, huh? Damn. I was just going to see the Ballers are playing. Speaking of teams who I'm not convinced of.
It doesn't matter for them. They already clinched the playoff spots. So.
Yep. So again, phone it in. Second 2.5 is the 2.5 season is really cool. The what was the question again? I'm sorry.
Thoughts about New York at the moment? Because Sussex, New York is a thing next week.
I think the Boulders are really good right now. I have thought they're a good team from the jump. So here's the funny thing. I had them winning this division and not being great. And then as I saw this team more, even with their awful start, I was like, I still think this is a good team. I don't know. And finally they're starting to play like it. And I'm feeling, again, vindicated on that because I think it's a well-assembled roster. I think they're really built to beat teams they should be beating, which is not saying a lot, but when there's a lot of teams that you should be beating, it works out really well. But like, they're on a good run of doing exactly that. I mean, took 3 from New Jersey, dropped 2 out of 3 to Quebec. That tracks. 1 2 out of 3 against Sussex, 2 out of 3 against Trois-Rivières, took 2 out of 3 from Brockton, and then they had like a weird stretch where they got smacked by Quebec and Ottawa for a bunch, but then like splitting with Gateway, and then you're into the bad stretch they had kind of for a while there. So I don't know. I think New York's a legit team. I think that they can cause problems. I think they're a better put together team than Sussex right now. So that'll be interesting.
Yeah, to make the postseason, lose in the first round, I think it's more of just a byproduct of like half of the Atlantic and just half of the Atlantic I keep wanting to call it a division, even though it's a conference, is just like not it this year. That being said, though, Sussex is still going to win this division because have you looked at their schedule?
Yeah, we went through the whole thing of they literally go the entire season without back-to-back series against good teams.
Well, I mean, you could argue Washington, New York, if you want to call New York a good team, they'll do that next week.
That's right, because New York sucked at the time, yeah.
Yeah. So, like, technically speaking, they have about 15 games left against teams we call good. So
I just have to mention, by the way.
Yeah.
Have you seen, talking about the Boulders, the stretch that Austin Dennis is on right now?
Yeah, it's like a 30-game on base streak, right?
Dude, no. Focus in on the last 9, I think it is. In his last 9 games, he's 25 for 39, batting .641 with 3 doubles, 2 triples, no homers. Kind of hard to even do that, but sure. It's just absolutely going crazy. I don't even know. Straight to jail. I don't know.
Straight to jail, 500.
And he peppered in a 1 for 5 in that streak too. But yeah, his last 9, 3 for 3, 3 for 4, 3 for 4, 3 for 5, 3 for 5, 1 for 5, 4 for 5, 2 for 4, 3 for 4.
Can I just point out how Ganther's also hit 5 home runs in 6 games?
Yeah, wow, yeah. That's a good point. Yeah, dude. And even going back, then it's an 0 for 3, then it's a 2 for 4, 4 for 5, 1 for 4, 3 for 4. Oh my God. How many multi-hit games does this man have? They're all multi-hit games. It's all multi-hit games.
He's been a legit player for 3 years now.
Oh my God. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Counting is good content. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24 multi-hit games, and he's played 52. So he's almost getting a multi-hit game in half his games. More multi-hit games than no-hit games. That's fun.
Do you have anywhere else to look in the Frontier League, or can we move on to another league?
I'm good for now. I know we got a bit of a time crunch this week, so we don't need to harp on any of the craziness that I got wild cards I can bring in any episode, so I can save them.
All right. Atlantic League, we know the 2 division winners now for the first half. We've known that for some time. Mm-hmm. York, High Point, great job. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, I don't really have a ton on that. Because it's just been sealed for so long. My sort of preview on that is I do believe that Gastonia is going to be something to watch moving forward. But we'll see if that ages poorly. Because when I say something with that much confidence, I'm just absolutely begging to be humiliated. It's so bad.
I'm just saying, Hagerstown right now tied for the best second half record in the league at 2-1. Here they come.
I want to do it. So interesting. Right now, there's a stretch of the North Division beating the South Division head to head. I should check in and see if that's been that way for the year or is that something completely different. I'll check that later. But I'm always curious if there's every once in a while we'll stumble in something where we're like, oh, these divisions are pretty even, and then the one has an 800 winning percentage against the other. And we're like, sorry, what's going on? So I don't know. I'm always curious about that. But yeah, there's not a ton to say right now. I think Lancaster is posed to do their second half thing potentially. Poised, that's what I was looking for. Mm-hmm. And Charleston might do their second half thing because they've been saving. And Gastonia, I think we're gonna have a really good race in the South between Gastonia, High Point, Charleston. That's not slight to Southern Maryland, Lexington. I just think the more that the teams in their division see them, the more trouble they're gonna have.
I could see it. I mean, the thing is, though, Gastonia still has a lot to do for me just to get back into the I believe in you phase. Both Charleston and Gastonia, I should say, because they just didn't do anything in the first half. I mean, it was a pretty rough first half. So for me, I just need to see a little bit more before I can really be like, yeah, no, I feel good about you. Because even with a nice hot streak in the first half, they still were 7 games under Gastonia. So that part does concern me.
Yeah, and I think where that runs into issues too is if we run to a wild card race, which is potential. Yeah. I don't see York or High Point really falling off. I think unless High Point has a bunch of signings, which you think signings should be slowing down at this point. I think High Point's gonna be around. York could be around. The only thing that where High Point might fall out of it, and potentially York too, is if it's close with 2 weeks to go, and they're playing potential other playoff teams, especially within the division. I could see them holding back pitchers and things like that for rest and for, not showing guys too often. And that's where you tend to see some, potential repeat division winners fade a little bit. So, of course, I don't have their schedule in front of me because of who I am as a person, but yeah, that's it. But I think it could also be a situation where if there's a wild card guest, they might have already shot themselves in the foot and all that.
I don't really have much else to say on the Atlantic League. I don't have any thoughts on them as a whole. So, I will say I do get a little concerned for High Point just because of all the guys they had signed to Mexico.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's cost them before. It happened at the right time where they basically just have months to sit back and figure some of these things out a little bit. I guess what I'm saying for High Point and the hopes for their playoff run, at least, is I think they're in a good spot because what you can start doing now is trying to make deals, player to be named later deals, whatever else, and try to line up guys who are going to show up right before playoffs start. Or, arranging signings with people who are maybe in Mexico, who might be coming back, whatever the case may be. So they have wiggle room. I think they'd be potentially dead in the water if they were losing this type of talent and they still needed to win games. Which brings me back to how weird the 2F system is, but that's fine. Whatever.
Comes with the territory. Yeah, right. I'm kind of good there if you want to go. Yep. 504 Gateway timeout. So Pioneer League, guess what? You're not getting talked about. Good job, Oakland. You punch playoff spot. Missoula, you should probably do it soon. Get a nice try to catch back up. I have U of a Sutter being a competitive force in the second half. Should be a playoff team. There we go.
Yep, fair enough. I'm really hoping we get the Oakland U of Sutter rematch. Yes. I just was asked when I did the spot with this Sioux City broadcast, do I have a rooting interest? And I don't, but I usually root for things that seem like they're gonna be fun. And I'll admit, I am looking for something along the lines of that rematch. I think it'll be great.
Oh yeah, there's certain rivalries for something you always got to root for, but. Going on to the American Association final league to talk about this week, and we'll get some news, and then we'll get out of here. This league is parity central here. Gary's looks a little bit better, but there's still kind of the odd man out. The East Division as a whole is just not good. There's really, Lake Country's kind of not even doing great either. So, I don't really have much to say about the East. Cleburne has finally gotten back above 500, which is a team that you think is good, but then you look and go, oh, no, they're not very good. Milwaukee is 10 games under 500, which is worse than I originally had thought. Chicago's kind of just in the middle. They're above 500 by 5, but is what it is. Still a game and a half out of first there. And then in the West, you have 3 real teams and then 2 teams trying to figure it out to decide what they are. And then Lincoln is trying to dig out of a couple holes that they put themselves in, and for some reason, it's still not dead yet. So a lot cooking here, and I don't really know how much there is to say beyond that.
I was just going to say Sioux City got a big series win against Kansas City. They went and tied for that series, which and they played a day game yesterday so that Sioux City could hit the road for a Cleburne set. Cleburne's been very hot and cold, just started to win games again after a stretch of losing, I think 8 out of 9 maybe, which means we are absolutely primed for a classic Cleburne beating the hell out of some division leader in Cleburne, because that's who they are. So keep an eye out for that, because I just feel like that's not against Sioux City. That's just I feel like Cleburne will do that. They'll randomly be and here's a sweep of the division leaders, and then we are going to go lose to a struggling Kane County team. Goodbye.
Well, see, because the problem is when you go down there as a midweek type of thing, it's a tough sell to get down there and then perform and then have to go back. So that home field bit really makes a difference, especially when they're already there and someone's coming to them.
Right. And it's also a weird bit of scheduling, by the way, that they're doing. I get it, but going Kansas City to Cleburne to Lincoln, that's a tough road trip, man. My big concern for them is I think you can get away with dropping 2 out of 3 to Cleburne here. You cannot lose that Lincoln series, and they're going to be tired because they're going from Sioux City, traveling on the off day, I assume, to Kansas City. They're playing the Kansas City series, then going to Cleburne, then Cleburne to Lincoln on the off day. They gotta make sure that team is ready to go for that. Take 2 out of 3 from Lincoln, handle business.
Yeah, I mean, they could take care of that easily there. The Sioux match will be tougher, but they do at least have a nice little 4-game set in Gary coming out of the All-Star break, so that should be a nice little recoup thing before going to Kansas City.
Yeah, I mean, they scored at least having Lincoln between Cleburne and Sioux Falls, because Lincoln usually gives you an opportunity at least to have a couple guys pitch deeper in the game, because dealing with that Cleburne, offense and then turning around and having to go 3 games with Sioux Falls would suck, man.
Yeah.
So that's a good escape. Did you see the thing I tweeted about Cleburne's offense being crazy?
Yeah, no, it's like bipolar, where it's better on the road than at home, even though at home should be a more hitter-friendly park. Yeah,
and it's like, and it's close. I mean, it's not like overwhelmingly more hitter-friendly than where they've been playing, but it's just like, makes no sense. And we're used to seeing Cleburne's offense great, but we're used to it because they're built to play in that ballpark and they do well. And it's just very funny to like, wow, they're really putting up numbers again. But does it matter, or is it just the stadium they play in? And then you look and it's actually very much not the stadium they play in. So keep an eye on that weird trend.
Yeah, definitely. So anyone else in the association we really want to take a look at this week on a deep dive format, or
I don't think so. I mean, I would just point out one thing on Sioux City, which is they deserve some credit for just how well constructed this pitching staff is. I mean,
they keep taking beatings and they just keep going, like beatings in the sense of they'll lose like 2 or 3 really great pitchers, and then just like, no, we're just going to keep going.
Yeah. I mean, they just lost. So they had Marmon, Weatherby, Drury. They're all in like the 2 to 3 ERA spot. And then you've got, I forget who they
had
2 more good starters. Yeah. And then they lost Williman, and they just were like, yeah, it's fine. We'll just throw Schulten again out there for 3 innings and just bullpen it from there. You're like, oh, word. All right.
Yeah. I'd like them to go 1 more pitcher, to be quite honest. And then I'd feel really, really good about them. But even still, I think they're pretty fine as is. I mean, I just want to check to see if my priors is still accurate. Yeah. The batting's still a little bit of a problem here.
Yeah.
But,
Drury is really good. Yeah. I mean, they have their last 18, 26, 38 innings, that starting pitching has allowed 8 earned runs. So that'll play.
So curious to see how they shake out there. Yeah. And then, like I said, Kansas City is kind of like the inverted version of them, right? Where like they have like a really great lineup, and then you're like, oh wait, there's no one that can pitch here.
Mm-hmm.
That's a problem. So, I think that just about does it for association for the week. So, well, let's get to just some quick bits of news, and then we will get out of here. Let's start positive news, and then we'll work our way back. Ottawa has got a very nice TV deal going for them. I think it's pretty much every game remaining going to be on Rogers, the major TV station up there. Games both in English and in French. All home games are on a 1-day delay, so they'll be up the following day. But the road games are going to be carried live here. I can pull up the TV schedule now whilst we think of the channel number. But thoughts while I'm doing that?
I think it's cool, man. I think I have always had an interest in Canadian baseball and how it seems to interact up there and how it seems to do. And the consistency of the support they seem to get up there is really cool. And the fact that, I mean, if you're Rogers, there's a lot of stuff you can pick from. I mean, that's a legitimate network. Like the fact that they saw this team and said, hey, we'll pick up some games here. They wouldn't do that without some confidence that there's a market for that. So it's interesting to note that there is a market for watching those games, and that there's an interest, and seemingly with that, a financial benefit to networks putting those games on, man. That's awesome. I'm really happy to see that. It's good for it. It is definitely a rising tide lifting all ships type situation.
Yeah, no, definitely there. And I'm looking here now, and it seems like it's just about every game left. There's a couple dates that are vacant here, but by and large, it seems to be fine. It's channel 22 or channel 23 for the Rogers network there. Most of the tape delays go up at 10 o'clock in the morning the following day, so I don't necessarily love that. But that being said, it's still on major syndicated television there. And there are some that go up on 1 o'clock the following day, so that is nice as well. I do think it's a huge plus, and having the bilingual thing too is a nice benefit there, since it's cool. A bilingual city. So that is a huge bump there, and I think it really does also incentivize them to make that home team broadcast as strong as it can be too, and maybe give a little bit of a template for some of the other teams going forward as to what to do and how to do it.
Yeah, it will be interesting, and I hope that's something that I assume that's something that will be shared in league meetings. And while it's nice to be like, well, everybody knows how to get a TV deal done, and it's just whether it's available and whether they have somebody they can work with. I can tell you from talking to front offices, and not all these front offices know how to do a damn TV deal. So hopefully a lot of good information sharing, tips and tricks, and hopefully also this can serve as proof of concept to other networks that can look and be like, well, okay, how's that been going over there? Is there anything we should note? Is there little things like, do certain game times work better? We can keep that in mind and make it more plausible moving forward.
Definitely. At the very least, it's great to expand the brand reach, and it's a little bit easier to get more people in the ballpark when they can just flick on and watch a game there and see what the deal is before actually heading out there. So definite plus there. Continuing on, all-star rosters are out for 3 of 4 leagues, Atlantic, American, and Frontier. As we know, the Atlantic League does not do a game, so it doesn't really matter. Theirs is just more or less a first half best performers list. We'll go through the players on each of these. I don't necessarily know if I have too many thoughts on them per se, just because I haven't done too much of a deep dive to establish my own list yet. Plans to do that over the weekend. I think you're in the same boat, right?
Yeah, I really only have a lot of background on the Frontier League because I'm currently putting together my own All-Stars, which will be put out. So keep an eye out for that. Little plug. So yeah, I think that I've already put together the Frontier League, at least most of the All-Stars that I have. So that's why I have a ton of background there and maybe some thoughts. But other than that, I'm just sort of reacting in real time to anything we're talking about with the All-Star teams.
Okay, awesome, perfect. So we're in the same boat. So Atlantic League All-Stars, at first base, we have Mason Martin from Lancaster. We had a tie for second base between Justin Wiley of Gastonia and Jalen Miller of York. York also gets their shortstop in Jeffrey Weiner. We have Drew Mendoza, third base from High Point. Catcher Ronaldo Flores from Long Island. DHing Brady Whalen from Lexington. Outfield positions are Rivertown, which is, what a name, very geographic, from Long Island, Bennett Klinsky from High Point, and Mark Contreras from Staten Island. The pitching positions, starter Sean Semple out of Southern Maryland, Scott Engler as a reliever from Lancaster, and Cam Robinson from York, a unanimous selection as the closer there. I also appreciate them going with pretty easy names this time. Love that for me. So, yeah.
I don't have a ton on that one. Maybe I will elaborate further in another one, but I've considered doing a video. I don't want to do a video for each All-Star team. I'm going to try to put all the league All-Stars out actually at one time, but maybe I'll do a video about the disagreements I have between this one, like the official league list and ours. I don't have a lot of disagreements on the fact of like, this guy sucks, why is he on the team? It's more like, hey, this guy's really good. I think he's been doing it longer this year, played more games, whatever. And then I think the Atlantic League in particular does it, but a couple other leagues do it too really badly, which is a lot of times my disagreements are like, that guy's not a second baseman or whatever. So I always have to do a bit of a deep dive to look at that and be like, this guy made it for second base because he was listed as a second baseman, but he's played 10 games there and he's mostly a DH. So there's sometimes you get those too. So I'll have to do a look at that. Maybe I'll do a follow-up video if I find some interesting stuff.
Yeah, certain elements of stat keeping are a bit of an issue, but Going now to the American Association, just going to run through them quick. They also have their last man in voting that wrapped up last night, so we should get those winners fairly soon to add on to the list as well. Starting in the East, catcher is going to be Eric Osberg from Milwaukee. First base, Kyle Martin, Cleburne. Second base, Dante Stewart from Lake Country. Shed Long will be the third baseman, Cleburne. Shortstop, Elvis Peralta, who's been very good for Gary this year. Obviously from the Railcats there. Outfield positions, Brian Ray from Lake Country, Trendon Craig from Kane County, and Jarius Richards from Gary as well. Todd Lott will DH. He is a Kane County Cougar. Reserves are Andres Sosa from Cleburne, Marcus Chow from Kane County, Henry Cusick from Chicago, Dustin Peterson from Cleburne, also from Cleburne, Aaron Altier, and Armand Upshaw from the Cougars, too. Pitchers, oh, dear God, I forgot they do a game, so it's going to be a long list. Hate that. Yep. Hate it so much. Pair of Cougars in Jake Gazzo and Connor Ash. Pair of Dogs in Jacob Labio and Jeff Lindgren. Pair of Milkmen in Juan Diaz and Denny Bentley. Pair of Railroaders in Derek Kraft and Cade Michaels. And Luke Hansel from the Dockhounds. West Division starters, Juan Fernandez will catch from Fargo. First base, Matt Workentine from Winnipeg. Second base, Jalen Williams from Kansas City. And then we have three straight Canaries at third, short, and an outfield position in Calvin Estrada, Jordan Barth, and Josh Raywold. Also in the outfield will be Henry George from the Explorers and Max Murphy from the Goldeyes. Dylan Thomas will DH from Fargo. Reserve, Scott Combs from Sioux Falls. Josh Bissonnette from Kansas City. Lincoln gets a pair in Danny Batista Jr. and Drew Devine. And then Zach Voltage from the Explorers as well. The pitching positions, Garrett Alexander from Fargo, as well as Kyle Krieger from Fargo. Sioux City will get Felix Cepeda in there, as well as Chase Jesse. A pair of Canaries in the form of Christian Cosby and Thomas Stormedy are there, as well as Julian Garcia from Kansas City. We also have Parker Harn coming in from the Red Hawks, and Jared Weatherby from the Explorers. Tasker Strobel and Ryder Yackel, both of Winnipeg, get in there to round that off. Those are the two teams. Game's going to be in Fargo, July 21st, 22nd. That's them.
Oh, was that all?
Yeah, that's it. There's also the Frontier ones I'm getting ready to go ahead and run through in 5 minutes time before having to run out of here.
Yeah, I won't add too much onto it then. I mean, we can always, if we feel like it, we can always do even like a bonus Alistar deep dive episode if we really want to or something. So, yeah. But for the most part, I let these things kind of do them, speak for themselves, and then we can recap.
Excellent. So let me run through this Frontier League All-Star basis, and then we will go from there. Midwest Conference up first. Catcher Jose Alvarez from Gateway. First base, Anthony Calarco from Schaumburg. Second base, Gateway, Gabe Holt. Third base, Ian Battaglia from Joliet. Shortstop, Brandon Marine from Joliet. Keenan Taylor from Evansville. Wagner Lagrange from Washington, and Victor Castillo, all outfielders. Castillo from Gateway. Pitchers, Anthony Escobar from Lake Erie. Michael Brewer from Lake Erie. Brian Williams from Mississippi. Jonica Villalobos from Florence, Dylan Spain from Lake Erie, CJ Flowers from Joliet, Colt Cook from Schaumburg, and Keegan Collette from Gateway. Reserves, Alfredo Marte from Lake Erie, Victor Diaz from Mississippi, Hank Zeisler from Florence, Travis Holt from Mississippi, JJ Stewart from Gateway, Ethan Wilder from Washington, JT Benson from Evansville, Michael Sandel from Windy City. There's also been some replacements on both of these teams. Keep that in mind. I'm not going to go through that right now. From the Atlantic side, Jason Agresti will catch from New York. First base, Mackay Backstrom from Sussex County. Will Riley, second base, from Quebec. Third base, Sean Roby from Sussex County. Shortstop, Kyle Kroll from Quebec. Outfield, Justin Gidding, Quebec. Tommy Chrysler, Brockton. And Ryan McCoy from New York. Pitchers, Brandon Allman from Quebec, Tyler Vale, New York, Brandon Kaminer from down east. Billy Parsons from Sussex County, Cole Roll in Quebec, Jalen Long, New Jersey, Billy Dobie goes from Ottawa, and Rob Hensey from Sussex County. Backup players of the reserves, Oscar Campos, who is injured at the moment, I believe, from Tri-City, Anthony Quantrion from Quebec, Brandon Hilton from Trois-Rivières, Luis Acevedo from New Jersey, Ian Walters from Tri-City, Austin Dennis from New York, he should be starting, Marc-Antoine Lebreu, Quebec, and Stephen De Tomaso from down east. Not too bad with names this year, but we only screwed up a few.
Could be worse.
Yes, so those are all the All-Stars there. Make of them what you will. We'll each have a better deep dive. Have fun with it. Oh,
yeah.
And I got a few minutes left. We're going to get out of here.
I knew you could do it.
Yay for me. All right. So we got one last thing left to get to before we get out of here, and that is obviously some sad news we got last Saturday, a week ago, in revolving around Bobby Jenks, who sadly passed away following a battle with stomach cancer. Most famously known for closing out the 2005 World Series for the Chicago White Sox. However, in the indie ball world, known for winning a championship in Grand Junction, and then began to manage Windy City last year and was supposed to this year before, obviously, his health took a major decline. The baseball part is secondary, obviously, but it is a tremendous loss to family and friends. By all accounts, was a true, just a guy that loved the game, loved living, obviously, but was a good guy all the way around, and was a guy that had done, just talking the baseball sphere, and particularly our area, a lot of work, and was one of those guys that seemingly could go into a situation that wasn't good and turn it around fairly quickly. Even around Windy City, we were feeling good about it. He took a Grand Junction team that wasn't really anything and won a championship year one. Mm-hmm. And it is deeply sad on multiple levels that you lose a guy, especially as young as he was at 44, and so much potential still left there. It's just it's a deeply upsetting situation.
Yeah, I mean, all of it, I always, when something like this happens, it's hard to not reflect on what is there to take from this. And there's a lot of lessons in, appreciating your health and the time you have. And honestly, the way that people have spoken about him since his diagnosis and then his passing, and the way, the number of teams who posted about him, and, the number of people that were around and the comments on it, it sort of reinforces as well, we don't know how long we have. And especially in a world that is so personal as baseball, where it's basically a organized failure that lasts for months out of the year, and then you go back to your own world and then you reconvene over it. It's such a personal thing, and thinking on all the interactions and how that affects others, it kind of forces, I guess what I'm saying is seeing the way that people have spoken about him and reflected on him and their relationship to him. I think it serves as a really good reminder for everybody of how fragile things are, and how also important all the little interactions are, especially not only in the world of baseball, but in our little corner of it. And I always thought it was cool. I mean, I remember our first conversation about Bobby going to Windy City and talking about how I felt like he was a good fit for Windy City. And it wasn't because of, the success he had in Grand Junction or whatever. It was just because interviews with him and things like that I've seen, and it's always he's a guy who knows how to go through it, who has been through tough times even before all this, and came through it and had wisdom from it and had a good attitude from it. And it was, I remember specifically being yeah, I think he's a really good fit because Windy City's been through some really difficult seasons, and the guys that are going to struggle, and I think he's the right guy for it. and then to then have this very public and visible and serious, illness to persevere through, and then passing is sort of, it leaves an impact for sure. Yeah, I never know what to really say on these, but in the end, I mean, I'm glad more than anything that was a guy who could have done whatever he wanted, and he chose to spend time here and with the guys and managing indie ball guys. I mean, probably could have just done kind of whatever he wanted, gotten free drinks in Chicago for life after closing out that World Series. Yeah, man, it's just thankful for the time that we had with him. Not like we knew him personally, but that he made an impact in this area that we care about so much.
That's the thing. It's like there's a lot of potential behind now that isn't there, and it was just like you said, a guy that knows how to go through it, but to the same extent, a guy that seemingly knew how to relate to guys and was seemingly picking everything up very quickly, and then knew from his own past experience plus what he was getting to, just the success kind of was there, kept growing and whatnot. And I mean, you would think like at this point where he was at, the thought of just riding a bus all summer, going from one town to another town to another town, is something that just would be deeply unappealing. The fact that he chose to do it, 4 summers in a row, essentially. One as a pitching coach in Grand Junction, one as a manager there, then another one in the Appy League, and then another one in the Frontier League before signing up to do it again before this all unfortunately started to unfold. There's a deep commitment and love of the game there, and it's a shame that 25 unfolded as it had, from the initial diagnosis to then losing his house in a fire to then everything that's come since then. It's that ending part that really, I think, punctuates it all, in that you would wish for a guy like that to get at least a better ending than what he got, even though he already had some of the highest of highs. To cap it with the lowest of lows, it just feels deeply unfair in a way.
Yeah, if I were to sort of hammer it home on one thing, I think that when he ended up in Grand Junction, that was in the span of time when Pioneer League was really bringing in, like, for lack of a better term, celebrity managers, like big name guys. And we were like, well, we'll see how this goes. A lot of these guys faded out and went elsewhere. And then Bobby took more jobs in indie ball. And we're like, oh, like, you're choosing this. Like, you want to be here. This is not, you're relegated to this. This is where you're choosing to be day in, day out during the summer. And that's something where there's not a lot of that. And I appreciate that and respect it. And with that too, I mean, I won't make a bigger thing of it, but, maybe there's a problem when somebody who seems to be a good, a good contributing member of our society, let alone a member of our society at all, our community, needs to go to Portugal to afford treatment. Feels broken, but I'm not going to make that point now because that's not what it's about. But the big thing is nobody deserves to go out in a way where, they don't have their home, they don't have their health. And it's just tragic to see, man. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
It's a dour way to end it, but that's how we're ending off the week. Condolences to his family and friends left behind. And yeah, that's kind of where it is. It feels wrong to go to plugs from here, so I guess we'll just kind of wrap it on that note. And
yeah, you know where to find me.
Yeah, so we'll be back probably middle of the week with the bonus thing. So we'll try to get a more lighthearted tone then. But yeah, until next time, then don't forget to play ball.